Chapter 5. Another Friend. I sat on the bench at mid-morning, staring out at the ocean. The sun had burned off the coastal layer of fog, and the water, stretching out like a blanket buffeted by the wind, covered the earth. My sleep had been restless. All night Ted's teachings had churned through my brain like the waves crashing onto the beach below. It was a huge burden, realizing how much of my life had been spent caught up in the victim orientation. How many times had I traveled around the DDT, that toxic, dreaded drama triangle? As I lay awake in bed, my mind wandered from the mundane to the monumental, considering all the highs and lows of my life in light of this new viewpoint. A few days earlier, my flight to the coast had been delayed in Chicago, and like the other passengers, I was anxious to get where I was going. We were all victims of the weather that day and the havoc it had wreaked on the flow of airport arrivals and departures. I remember how some travelers approached the gate agents as potential rescuers, as if the button on their computer keypads could accomplish instant magic. When the ticket agents promised that they would only announce new information when it became available, I watched those same passengers begin treating the agents as persecutors. When had I first taken up the victim orientation? I guess it went back to my early family life. No doubt my parents had loved me and did the best they could, but they had unwittingly repeated certain unhealthy patterns from their own upbringing. I suppose if I followed that genealogical map of the victim orientation, it would lead all the way back to early humans and the fight, flee, or freeze reactions that had helped them survive to populate the world. And now, evolution had placed me at this critical choice point. I had the opportunity to break the victim cycle, to stop the patterns that passed it on from generation to generation. The prospect was overwhelming. I was also excited. Something new was about to happen. There was a more fulfilling way of being in the world after all, and I knew that today Ted would give me some clues about how to live it. Or so I hoped. We had left things fairly open-ended the day before. What if he didn't show up? I had no phone number, no way to contact Ted. I took a deep breath of salt air and let it go. I decided to trust the process. I closed my eyes and offered a prayer of gratitude. I had found a wise friend, and now I had the time to consider our conversation, maybe even start putting it all to good use. I took a slow, full breath. The salt air and the sound of waves on the shore blended with the calls of seagulls overhead. The breeze brushed my cheek. I felt calm, at peace. Ted cleared his throat. I opened my eyes, and there he was standing with his staff in hand. I had not even heard him approach. He smiled. I nodded. We were ready to begin again.